Much like I predicted, this video challenge is hard because I have to make myself just sit down and actually do the video. So here I go. You probably didn't know this before, but I am a huge, gigantic classical music nerd. Tonight I got to go to an orchestra concert for the first time in like 2 years. Since moving to Albuquerque, I haven't been part of the music scene so much, and so I really missed it, and it was great to go with my best friend to see a concert. It was sort of a surprise concert, because we had no idea what was playing that night. There were free tickets, so what the hell. But I was really pleased to see that on the program for the second half of the concert, they would be playing pictures and an exhibition. As a younger music student, I used to dread hearing anything from this suite. I thought it was super boring. I couldn't understand anything about what they were trying to say. I couldn't figure out why people thought that it was such good music. But you know, things happen when you get more educated and you understand things. Later on, when I got to college, I had the opportunity to play pictures at an exhibition, and I have to say that my time with this music has been marred by tragedy and despair. I spent a lot of time being terrified of my angry conductor and spending a lot of time in practice rooms crying over very difficult notes. But tonight was a really different experience. I was able to appreciate it as an audience member and appreciate the meaning behind this music. This is Mussorgsky's most famous work, and it's a symphonic narrative that actually tells a story. The idea is that the listener is walking through the Louvre Museum, and there's the very famous promenade that sounds in the background as they walk in between paintings, and then as you stop and become absorbed in the art, the music describes the visual experience. And so each part of the piece is named after a particular painting that inspired it. As the suite progresses, each movement further immerses you in this experience of visual art being translated through sound and instruments and harmonies describing texture and colors and moods. While the style was remarkable in the late 1800s, this is a concept that has been with us pretty much since the beginning of music and history as we know it. Music's ability to inspire and to communicate and transcend word has long been a source of fascination and wonder, so it's no wonder that we see this in so much early religious practice. We can trace the roots of Western music history back to Greek theories on harmony and associations with the planets. That's actually where we get most of the structure for our Gregorian chants found throughout the Catholic Church. There are no peoples, ancient, modern, or otherwise, that have not used music in order to communicate those things that you can't put into words. So that brings me to music in a religious practice. Like many of us enculturated in a Western religious tradition, I'm very familiar with Christianity, Christian music, the hymnal structures behind it, and the functions in Gregorian harmonic structures. That sounds really wordy and super technical, sorry. But it means that the meanings and the feelings that we associate with certain hymns are ones that are just about subconscious by now. When we all sat down in the theaters and watched The Lord of the Rings when it first came out, we heard the music that was used for the magical elves and their elven realms, and we knew that they were old and solemn and sacred, and a lot of that was because of the music that they chose to use. Part of what makes encountering the elves so ethereal and something out of fantasy is so surreal is that we hear the choirs in the background and they are using these words that we don't understand and harmonies and melodies that remind us of the Gregorian chants from early Catholic history. Maybe you don't see it that way. But I do, because I'm a music nerd. It's really cool. So here I am, a Westerner with Western sensibilities who can't be blamed for looking at sound and religion in this way that I am accustomed to. In fact, I am still carving out my own traditions and sussing out what I need to do for myself spiritually. It changes the way that I think and feel. It changes the way that I approach things that have meaning in my life, including music. Classical violin music is pretty old, but it's not ancient Egyptian old. Yet it's a huge part of how I express myself musically, and music is how I express myself spiritually. So what's a kid to do? You go back to the instruments that everyone uses, like drums and like voices. And yet even that kind of musicality can feel alien as I try to explore different musical traditions. You can't accomplish much by speculating, so I just have to start somewhere. I'm not entirely sure though, because I know that there is a way to incorporate it into my regular spiritual practice. You can't accomplish much by speculating, so I just have to start somewhere. We'll see what I come up with. I'll see you next time. Ethnic problems. Fixing the white balance in your video when you're not white.